My new free TradingView indicator for the initial balance has absolutely exploded. In the last few weeks, hundreds of thousands of people have viewed that video, and thousands of people have downloaded and are now using that initial balance indicator to trade futures, NQ, ES, gold, and a whole bunch of other symbols. The feedback I've been getting is phenomenal, and people are absolutely loving the indicator. In this video, I'm going to show you what it is, how to get it, why it works, and how to trade with it in the next 15 minutes. This indicator is part of my VWAP Wave system strategy, which I trade live each and every day on YouTube and in my Discord. Be sure to download my free VWAP Wave core systems guide. You can find that link in the description below, as well as join my free Discord. You'll get that link after you download the guide. So without further ado, let's hop into the charts. Okay, everybody. So this is my traditional 4-screen layout on any particular futures product that I'm trading. All right. And I trade multiple products. I'll trade ES, NQ, the Russell, the Dow. I'll trade oil, CL. I'll trade gold, GC, copper, silver, soybeans, Bitcoin, all in futures. I'm not a big Forex trader. I think since there's a lack of centralized exchange and volume data on Forex, I feel like those brokers can play a lot of games, and it's not as reliable as trading futures, which has a centralized exchange. All right, we all share the same data. We all have the same bid and ask, the same spread, better liquidity, better spreads. So I think futures trading is a far superior product. I know I get some Forex traders in the group, so just kind of want to put that disclaimer up here. I trade futures for that reason, and I'm almost always trying to bring Forex traders over to futures for that reason. All right, there's better edge, and Forex, essentially the house can cheat a little bit. So futures is a little more of a fair playing ground. All right, so with that out of the way, today's video is going to be about the initial balance. And what is the initial balance? The initial balance is defined as the first hour of regular trading hours. Okay. Now, it's important to note that every market has its own regular trading hours. Now, in futures, we have a Globex open, so all of the markets open at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, that is not regular trading hours. Regular trading hours, for example, for U.S. stocks, the official open of that market is 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, for oil and natural gas, it's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For gold, it's 8:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. It doesn't matter if you trade a London session or an Asia session or the New York session. This is the same time for all markets, and these are the levels we are going to respect. Okay. So the different sessions don't have different times. All right. It's all the same. Now, I have a cheat sheet for all of the markets in my Discord. Okay, this is the cheat sheet here. I have the opens for all of the markets. So the US stocks, gold, silver, copper, platinum, oil, heating oil, all right, all the treasury bonds, the currencies, everything you need is here. All right, you can download that in my free Discord. Okay, that link is in the description below. You'll get that after you download my free VWAP system guide. Okay. So where are we going to start here? All right. And just to explain what you're looking at, when I look at one market, all right, this is the NASDAQ. I have 4 charts. My top right is a 5-minute. My top left is an hourly with volume profile. My bottom right is a 30-minute with long-term VWAP and VWAP bands, weekly and monthly. And this is a daily chart in the bottom left, real big picture stuff with a yearly anchored VWAP with 1 standard deviation bands. All right. We're not going to go into the VWAP stuff today, guys. Those are in different videos. Be sure to check those out on my channel. Today, we're going to focus here on this indicator, which is my initial balance. All right. So the indicator automatically plugs the first hour of trading of regular trading hours. Now, you do have to set this in the indicator. U.S. stocks are a little wonky for whatever reason. I think it's because CME is located in Central Standard Time. For U.S. stocks, you're going to use 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. All right, this is still going to plot it at 9:30 a.m. So again, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is the initial balance for U.S. stocks. Okay, so what is the initial balance and why does it work? All right, so this first hour of trading is extremely important to the big players. All right, we're talking about hedge funds. We're talking about institutions. We're talking about banks, the real big players, the people that are moving these markets and that are getting in at our heavy distribution points on the volume profile. All right. So the first hour of a regular trading session has the most volume, the most liquidity. So these big players use that liquidity to establish their positions. They're getting in and out in that first hour due to all that liquidity. These guys have huge positions, thousands and thousands of contracts that they need to either purchase or get rid of, right? So they use this morning liquidity to do so. That's why it's so violent. That's why the volatility is so high, because that's exactly what happens. It's not the retail traders, okay? So they'll use this first hour to get in and out, all right? So we'll use the first hour, all right, this range, all right, the green high and the red low. This is now our first hour of trading. This is our balance area for the session. Okay, we'll use this as a roadmap to tell us whether we're staying in a balance or we're breaking into price discovery into a different value area. Now, when using the initial balance, it's important to understand the core principles of the VWAP Wave trading system, and we use auction market theory. Real quick, auction market theory tells us that the market and price is either in two states. We're either in value, where there's an agreement on price, and the big sellers and big buyers are getting in and out of their positions at this popular price level, and they're doing business. Once everybody is, you guys might see this as a sideways market or a ranging market, all right? But that's what's essentially happening in this sideways ranging market, okay? This balance market. And once they are finished doing business, price is now going to move on to discover a new balance area or value area, all right? And we can see this on the volume profile very well. These big fat distributions here, these are the popular price areas. This is where the big players are getting in and out. And once they're done doing business here, they're going to move onto a new value area, get in and out until they move on to a new value area and transact business until they're finished. All right. So with those core principles, this first hour is our balance. So based on our system, as long as price is staying in the first hour, we're looking to fade the IB high or the IB low. All right, we're not looking for a breakout. We're seeing price acceptance. So we're looking to trade price from the edges of initial balance, not always to the tick, all right, back into the inside of balance or the point of control, which is the initial balance midpoint. Okay, so this on the NASDAQ is a very balanced market. Okay, we're fading the edges of it. All right, we're in balance. There's a lot of agreement. The big players are getting in and out in this range, and we can expect it to stay in this range. All right, if you're not looking at this, you might see this as a trend up, right? And you're trying to look for that big breakout that never comes, right? Because we are in balance the entire session, right? As auction market theory traders, we're not looking for a breakout until it's proven that we can break outside of value and show acceptance. And acceptance is defined as price outside of value by distance or time. We travel far enough out of it, or we spend enough time out of it to show acceptance, to have faith and conviction that we're now in price discovery, and then we trade in the direction of the break. Okay? So this is an example of NQ. Let's look at oil. All right, so the initial balance on oil is 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so we're making sure those are the times when we're on oil for our initial balance. All right, we want to show our extension levels as well. That's this level here and here. Essentially what the extensions are, guys, it's a measured move. All right, so if we take the initial balance from low to high, all right, it's essentially that same value, again, a measured move. And for the third extension, it's that move again. So 3 initial balances away. All right, that's a lot of strength. All right, so here in oil, you can see that we faded eventually, but then we were able to break out of the initial balance and show acceptance by distance. All right, we immediately broke far into value and we trended the rest of the day. All right, and this third extension actually wound up being a support level. Okay. Let's look at gold. All right. Great chart on gold for price discovery. All right. Here's our initial balance. The initial balance on gold is 8:20 a.m. to 9:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Once we broke the IB low, all right, we went all the way down to this first acceptance, this first extension, kind of bounced a little bit, went back to the 50% mark, and then we went all the way down to significant lows. All right, we were able to reclaim and backtest this area before we went on to break this extension level. We backtested and went back to IB low to the tick, all right, where we respected it twice as a short point. This would be a price discovery short, according to the Core Systems Guide. All right, so here we have a price discovery short, price discovery short. Now we have a return to value long right here. All right, return to value long here. And then this would be a price discovery short. All right, all based on the setups out of my framework. Okay, same thing in copper. Our initial balance in copper is 8:10 a.m. to 9:10 a.m. Once we were able to break the initial balance high and show acceptance, we went on to new levels. Silver, same story, tried to break, retraced, break. All right, we had the bounce there. That was a return to value setup right here on silver. All right, soybean pretty much spent the whole day in balance. Bitcoin, same story. I use the 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. open for Bitcoin. Break, back test, long. Okay. All of these levels are important. You can try and fade these extensions. You can try and use them as support for trend continuation. All right, but very, very powerful levels indeed. Okay. So it's important to understand the setups. There's 4 core setups in the VWAP Wave system. Okay. We have our price discovery long, right here. Price discovery continuation. All right, that's our first setup, and this is what it looks like. Our second setup is fade value area extremes. Okay, that's our fade value area extreme setup. Our third setup is going to be our return to value. All right, let's remove these drawing. That's this setup right here. We broke above an extension, we back tested, and we returned to IB low. The same setup can appear when we break into initial balance low, we back test, and we return to value. All right. And our fourth is the VWAP bounce. All right, this is actually a great VWAP bounce on the VWAP. This would be bouncing off the midpoint in IB or one of these extension midpoints. Okay. So I highly suggest you download the indicator. All right. You go to indicators. You're going to search initial balance. All right. Oops. It's this one right here by Trader Drysdale. You just click on that. That will install it. Make sure your settings are good accordingly. All right. The proper time. Pretty much all of these defaults are fine. The big one is going to be time. Okay. And then the rest of the defaults are how I like it. And what's also cool is that you'll get an analytics. Let's go over to my 5-minute here and let me show you this. All right. There's an IB Delta analytics. So this will show you over the last 20 trading sessions what the largest IB was, what the smallest IB was, what the average IB was, and then what today's is. So based on any trading session, this is going to show you exactly how large the IB is according to previous sessions, and this gives you a good idea as to volatility and how to size accordingly per our risk management systems in the VWAP Wave framework. Okay, so it's all connected. All right, so if you have any questions on the initial balance, on the indicator, how to use it, be sure to join my free Discord. All right, click the link below. Leave a question in the comments. I'll be happy to answer it. All right, so join me in that group. Happy to have you guys. Excited to have so many people coming in using this indicator to be able to trade their market of choice effectively or trade various markets. Join me on the live stream every trading day, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I trade for the first 30 minutes on YouTube. The remainder is in the Discord for members, and I hope to see you in the Discord.